At hand, our J. Philippe Rushton, Ph.D., Professor of Psychology, University of Western Ontario, has made a speech in which he claims the data shows that Vietnamese, on average, score higher in tests than do white people, and white people, on average, score higher in intelligence tests than do black people. He continues, saying that studies confirm that Asians, on average, have larger heads and, therefore, larger brains. He has also moved beyond the radius of many of those who hold similar views by suggesting that black males have larger genitals. And this accounts for, in his view, more sexual activity among blacks around the globe. Here we are. What's free speech to you? Barry Mehler, Ph.D., Professor of History of Science, Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan. Disagrees, sees this as more evidence of the pending possibility of a growing movement toward fascism, Nazism.
I say it's rubbish, and I say that around the world what we're seeing now is a resurgence of fascism. In France, Le Pen getting 15%. We've just had a Jewish cemetery desecrated with an 80-year-old cadaver, man taken out and impaled on an umbrella. In Eastern Europe, we have the resurgence of nationalism and fascism. We have the return to Romania of the Romanian Iron Guard. We are talking about World War II Nazis on the march again, and we're talking about no, I mean, no, you know, believe no, I don't.
You say, but anybody who does race
research,
anybody who does race research is a Nazi. Well, that's like me saying that anybody who disagrees with me must be a Marxist. I mean, you mustn't call people names like this, Barry. It really isn't right.
So the point of this... Are you there, caller? Hi, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. I wanted to say that I think the gentleman who is talking about the differences being more intelligent, less intelligent, black or white, is way off base. It's fine for him to do research. I think he should leave his research to the research books. And let's talk about the unity of mankind. There's only one race, the human race. Yeah. And what we need to do is mix the races. What we need to do is learn from each other. Yeah. What we need to do is celebrate our differences and have unity and diversity.
Yes.
And find our commonalities and quit worrying about the differences of high, low, big, small. It's a bunch of rubbish. Let's get together in this world and put the rest of this aside. Leave it at the end of World War II and get on with it.
I do thank you for your commentary. Hi, are you there?
Yes. I just wanted to know what caused Dr. Rushton
You had a brief comment.
Yes, to do his study, and who are the people behind him that are financially backing him? Are they multiracial, or are they all white?
Well, I mean...
The Pioneer Fund that you acknowledge funds you has an all-white male board.
Maybe they do, but I mean, that's totally irrelevant to my research.
A black person on the board of the Pioneer Fund.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I believe that there are cultural and social differences between the races, but I think everybody has the same capability to learn or to be sexually active, promiscuous, whatever. I don't think, if you're taking these facts, this data that you've found, and you're relating it or using it to, you know, use your own opinions, you know, illustrate your own opinions with it, that's racism.
You're right, it would be. But the thing is, you see, why is it that whites always, on 60 different variables around the world, consistently fall between the other two populations? What that implies is that there are very powerful forces at work to have brought them about, evolutionary forces.
I have a question for the professor. You believe in the theory of evolution, right? You believe that, I guess, the human race evolved from apes or donkeys or something like that. Can you definitely say that the human race with the different races of people evolved from different races of apes or whatever it is?
No.
And I cannot agree with you on just about everything that you said as far as the inferiority of the different races, because I believe that it has a lot to do with a person's application to studies, a person's application to their nutrition, their diets. I don't think you have any foundation to base your research as far as who is inferior or who is superior.
And I'll give you a chance to comment, I promise.
All human beings are members of the same species. We are all connected. We all evolved in Africa about 200,000 years ago. Humans are all members of the same group. We can all interbreed with one another. And the differences are relatively small, but they are there.
And we'll be back in a moment.
At the beginning of the show, he said that his words were not judgmental. And so why are we all worried about that? Another thing is that we're so concerned about the intellectual supremacy, but it would upset me to think that, well, they're athletically and physically supreme. And so what's wrong with doing studies? There's obviously differences in the different races.
Mm-hmm. I feel that we're not looking at the opportunities of individuals. I feel that certain individuals have more opportunities than others. And if we can try, before we say or do anything, put our feet in other people's shoes and look through their point of view or their lifestyle, then we could try and be
more understanding, more compassionate, and we'll live forever. Yes.
I think that you spend all your time, being a psychologist or whatever. Why don't you just, help with the AIDS research or something that's more important than talking about racism and stuff like that? Yes.
You don't suppress data because you're afraid people can't handle it. Maybe the whites and the blacks should try and measure up to the Asians. People reflect the culture and the ideology they live in.
Yes. Yes.
Hitler tried in Germany to make it an all-Aryan race, and it didn't work. I think in this 30, 40, 50 years later, it will not work here either.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Dr. Rushton should be allowed to speak on college campuses because I think he's probably his own best enemy.
Yes.
I just finished my sophomore year at college, and it scares me that I would have a professor that would give just one side like he does.
Yes.
Well, all I can say is this is the greatest country in the world. If you're willing to work and work hard, this is a land of opportunity, and anyone can make it in this country.
I think we've got to stop labeling people. We've got to stop labeling people, otherwise we'll never get rid of racism.
Oh, yes.
Hi, how can you really say who's superior than who? Does it really depend on an individual and how much who tries?
Yes, I agree.
So
I never said differently from what you said.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Has to be the individual and nobody...
We're all God's children, and all we have to do is learn to love one another.
Yes, we do.
The bottom line is it's the size of your brain or what you do with it.
Yes.
I think we need to spend a little more time and effort, a little less time and effort in finding the differences, and I think we should spend more energy in finding the unity that
will save us,
puts us all together.
Yeah.
I think we should get back to Rushton's case. He's just given us facts. They're facts.
Well, they're
He's
facts.
not saying he's
His
a
facts are in
neo-Nazi.
dispute.
He's not saying he's a neo-Nazi.
First of all, what's intelligence? Who shall decide? Who will measure you? Who draws up the test? In what culture do they live?
I know some
what
of them
sex
are
are
facts.
they?
If this other gentleman's ever been in a men's locker room, he knows some of the facts are true. This I know.
Yeah, you do know this, huh?
Yeah, in fact, but wait a minute, but it's the interpretation of those facts.
This was a double-blind study, was it? Yes.
In all fairness to Dr. Rushton, though, he isn't saying that his race is the master race.
That's true, but please, at least we have let's be respectful of those who suggest that this kind of so-called research is the beginning or the preamble to what can be some very, very ugly and institutionalized behavior. And while we're at it, let's remember that we live in the same country that interned thousands and thousands of people in the 40s because they were Japanese. And we did it with the advice and consent and approval of the United States Supreme Court and the most popular president of this century.
Phil,
how do you figure that?
Phil, can I comment on that remark? Okay, remember that Leonard Jeffries at City College argues that that's another sign of black superiority. So it's how you interpret the fact.
Yes.
If we believe in your philosophy of superiority and inferiority, what do you suppose we should do? Kill the inferior?
Look, I don't believe that there is any master race. I don't believe that some races are superior or inferior. I just think we're different and that we've got to come to terms with understanding the degrees of genetic differences.
Yes, but once we
And it's not just in the United States. This is true in Malaysia. It's true in London, England. It's true all over Africa. Every country has ethnic groups which differ from one another.
Yes.
Let's accept the diversity.
Okay. What purpose does that study bring altogether? You, Dr. Rushton, should join with other professors. I think one was in Canada also, who was telling the world that the crematoria didn't exist, that
Yes.
this is all a lie.
Yes.
And I believe your studies are just the same.
Can I get the caller on with little time left? Go ahead, caller.
Yes, I grew up with Asians and blacks all my life, mostly Asians, and all through my school age. And the Asians were more superior than the white or the black in school. They always did better on test scores, always did better academically, anything. But my question is, if that is the case, then what can we do to make our society better academically wise? Is it genetic, or is it their culture?
Right.
Or
What
is
is the
See, it's been very hard to grow up and deal with